I've lived in Pittsburgh a long time. My father's family's from the Pittsburgh area. Well, it's a beautiful region because you've got the confluence of the Allegheny and the Monongahela, and then all the tributary streams, which are really the special parts of western Pennsylvania. It's a tremendous bounty of natural beauty.
We are a city of about 335,000. 50 years ago, 60% of the people that worked in Pittsburgh worked in heavy manufacturing. Today, that's less than 10%.
We live in a beautiful place. This is a beautiful city, and within 10 minutes you can be in the middle of nowhere.
I had only been to Pittsburgh twice in my whole life, and my image was woefully outdated. I didn't have an appreciation for the tremendously varied and interesting history that Pittsburgh has, of the architectural wealth that's here.
I don't think people appreciate the confluence of the three rivers and how important that is to our sense of place. But it's a city of bridges. You can't go anywhere without crossing a bridge.
We've got more bridges than any city outside of Venice.
I'm not originally from Pittsburgh. I came to get my degree in architecture. I used to restore Corvettes, and there was a color gray called Steel City Gray for Corvettes. And I think that was my image of Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is hell with the lid taken off. James Parton, 1866. In the late 19th century, Pittsburgh was a place that was a beehive of energy and industry.
My father worked for 51 years in a steel mill in the South Side. It was a place of enormous power.
But also, there were attitudes towards the environment, that the environment was there to be exploited.
I first saw Pittsburgh when I was about 13 on a train, and we pulled into Penn Station. As we did, the windows got darker and darker and darker. It was about 2:30 in the afternoon. The street lights were on. That was my first impression of Pittsburgh.
I think the most powerful quality about the community is this ability to respond. This is the story from the 1940s and 50s about General R.K. Mellon and Mayor Dave Lawrence collaborating on cleaning up the air and the water.
Pittsburgh 50, 75 years ago was a leader in heavy industry, and that's the image that we battle against on an ongoing basis.
Unfortunately, a lot of people still haven't caught up with the current Pittsburgh.
I'm from Boston. I'm as guilty as any other foreigner, and I came in looking for steel mills and heavy industry.
And that's the way it came for myself and my wife. In fact, I came to interview in Pittsburgh, and she said, "You must be thinking of moving on your own."
And I popped through the tunnel here, and it was just unbelievable.
Underneath all of that smoke that existed at the turn of the century up until about the 50s was a beautiful environmental city.
It's a night and day what 50 years can do.
Between 1978 and 1983, much of Pittsburgh's steel industry collapsed. When the mills closed down, and they created what we call industrial brownfields, abandoned industrial sites.
We are probably leading the country in old brownfields reclamation. It is remarkable to watch some of these old steel mill sites.
Our particular development will be about 1.5 million square feet, so it's a really unique opportunity for a great development.
We haven't turned Pittsburgh into a big mall. There still are very real neighborhoods.
Most of which are intact, with main streets that are still viable.
That really is one of Pittsburgh's greatest assets, that we have very, very rich and interesting communities.
Well, in a way, we're spoiled in Pittsburgh because we are blessed with a large number of foundations, really the legacy of Pittsburgh's industrial past.
And I think it's a powerful asset for Pittsburgh that they've remained here and remained devoted to the welfare of the community.
Pushing us to think bigger and more strategically.
4 versus 3.
So there's a very strong history at the Heinz Endowments and with Teresa Heinz of believing in the power of design and art and architecture and culture to shape and improve a community.
This is probably the center of some of the largest industries that manufacture building components and products. Glass industries and steel industries and aluminum industries, each of them tried to represent the innovation in their own manufacturing fields in the buildings themselves. We also were blessed with civic leaders who brought in famous architects from every generation, from Richardson's Courthouse up through modern buildings, including Raphael Vignoli, who's done it on Convention Center.
Pittsburgh provided practically the wealth that built America. I had never been there before, and I found the place absolutely stunning. Just the approach through the tunnel, having the benefit of the visual impact of it. It's a spectacular place.
The design competition really, I think, changed how we think of design and development projects here in the city.
The problem is these configurations.
Investments in large civic buildings like this are rare. In this case, it was a series of foundations who are beginning to see the importance of environmental focus.
The Heinz Foundation was very generous in providing competition resources.
The Vignoli HNTB team.
Working in this fashion brings the best out of the people that participate.
Convention centers for the last 50 years have been designed around a black box. This building breaks all of those molds.
I was blown away by how integrated the Vignoli team was. The way in which the very form of the building had been generated by a collaboration between the structural engineer and the architect.
I just had this sort of moment in which I saw the succession of the sister bridges. It really made a wonderful sort of interpretation of what the program of a convention center is, which is essentially a space with very few columns.
It is a bridge. It is a bridge. That is an amazing thing. And you watch them build the trough and lay these tiny little cables wrapped around each other and bring this thing up so that it gradually rises.
It's unlike any building I've ever worked on, and most of the people that worked on it ever worked on it. The tradespeople are amazing, the skill that they have.
There's not a green building of this size in the world. There's not one with this kind of architecture, this kind of structure, this kind of lighting.
The green building is a healthy building. It's environmentally responsible, has less impact on the environment and on humans.
It's convenient, it's close, it's walking distance. Pittsburgh's a walking city.
It's not easy to see all the little hidden secrets that are in it. We're reducing potable water use in the building by at least 50%.
It is the only major convention center in the country that has day-lit exhibit hall.
We'll reduce our energy use by 35%.
It will rely on natural ventilation instead of forced air conditioning as a year-round strategy.
One interesting thing with the particular structure of the building is that we've actually reduced the amount of materials needed.
It's a building that tries to take advantage of recycled materials where appropriate.
The impact of the built environment, where we spend 80 to 90% of our time, is an issue we are just becoming aware of as a society.
How do you sell a building like this? I walked somebody upstairs one day, and we walked into the exhibit hall, and the person said, "Wow." I said, "That's how we sell this convention center."
It's a great design architecturally, but the feedback we get is that the users just love the way it moves in and moves out and the way it works for them.
The building is designed to have form follow function, and so I think it makes a spectacular statement to go along with the new Pittsburgh and the reality of the city.
To come out of all those high-rises, pop into the building, and to have almost 6 acres of space without a column in it, and to think you're still in a very condensed urban area, it's a real change.
Pittsburgh has a tremendous architectural history, and I think the convention center fits into that.
The building is trying to live up to that demand in reconnecting the city with the river and the environmental agenda, which is so much part of this design.
And the fact that the convention center makes use of its river location and is also a green building is immensely significant.
We have the ability to claim the largest green building in the world, and there aren't too many places who can duplicate that.
Not only is the world's largest green building in Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh is now probably the #1 center of green building in the United States, which to me comes so naturally from Pittsburgh's ethic of renewal and renovation.
The new convention center, without a doubt, is the icon of the new Pittsburgh.
We're a new community. It's not turning its back on the rivers. It's not turning its back on its heritage.
This transformation in the last 50 years with the environment and economic development working hand in hand, I think it says a lot for the city where it is now and where it's going in the future.
It's a living, breathing illustration of significant environmental progress without being anti-development.
Our relationship with the environment has changed, and I think this transformation is really important because it sends a message around the world.
Pittsburgh has begun to thrive by channeling its energies in ways that maximize both the environment and the economy.
It's happening, it's here, it's now. It's not about to happen. I believe it's happening.